There we go. Hello, Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, and then I load it up to Facebook. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. So if you are anywhere in the world that's not being interfered with by any sort of major, political BS going on, then you can get onto BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. So BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They will set you up with a therapist online. They are licensed. They are professional. They are, they're online. They're international. And they're awesome. And I've been getting a really good feedback from people using them. So thank you, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay, so let's do a little bit of housekeeping. So just to let you guys know, I'm probably not going to be as perky as I normally am. This week has been really rough. We had to let our Scotty dog, see, I'm going to start crying, cross over the Rainbow Bridge. So that's been really difficult, of course, dealing with everything that's going on in the Ukraine. So just letting you know, I'm not on my best game today. So please forgive me. So if you are interested in helping out the Ukraine, a great organization to donate to is Doctors Without Borders. Doctors Without Borders, and I'm going to be talking to my sister Nancy. She sent me a thing on how to donate for people with animals that were trying to get out of the Ukraine, and I want to get more information on that before I talk about it. So there's that. Okay. Also, please don't friend me on my personal page. I will not friend anybody that I do not know in the real world. If you want a taste of who I am, I post stuff to my LPC page. So Chris Godinez, public speaker, LPC, whatever I have it as, on Facebook. And so I put the stuff that I do outside of here on there. So basically it's the same page as my personal page. It's just I'm very protective of my family and friends. So anyway, there is that. Hi, France. The war does suck. It's stupid. And Putin's a dark triad. And I've already had Russian bots come on and be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, delete report, delete report, delete report. So yeah, anybody who sides with that is a flying monkey. So anyway, there that is. Okay, sorry. Just like I said, I am not on my game, guys. I truly apologize. I'm just all over the place. All right, so let's do this. So Susanna Quintana, you're still that girl at SusannaQuintana.com. She is phenomenal. She and I are actually going to start talking now. Obviously, because of what's going on in the Ukraine, we're not going to be able to do international stuff for a while. So, it's like we just got the whole COVID thing down, and then that mother clucking starts it up. Don't get me started. I'm not on my game, guys. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Anyway, I'm going to talk to Susanna. We're going to talk about doing tours here in the US, and we're going to see if we can get something going because it's time. It's time. Also, there is my books. Also, my new book is finally available on Kindle and Amazon. It's paperback and Audible. So they finally got the Audible going. I guess there was some sort of technical issue, so I do apologize about that. So everything is up and running now. So you can get So You Want to Be a Therapist on Audible, Kindle, and Amazon. So it's hardback, it's the Audible stuff, and it's Kindle. So there we go. Also, my old books, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them cha-cha. And What's Wrong with Your Dad, also available on all of those formats. And I just love Shahida Arabi. If you guys are working through this stuff, this is a great book because it's got great journal prompts and all that sort of good stuff. So The Highly Sensitive Person's Guide to Dealing with Toxic People. Shahida Arabi is awesome. If you're going through a divorce, I kid you not, Splitting, let me find it. Splitting by Bill Eddy and Randy Krieger. OMG. Basically, they go over everything that I talk about that they're going to do during a divorce. And it's good to get that in your head because you got to be prepared. Okay. All right. So, podcast. Yeah. See, I told you I was not on my game. Also, this is now available on podcasts. So it is available on Google and Android. No, Google and Apple, Google and wherever you find your podcasts. This is now available on podcasts. So we're doing these as podcasts now, which is awesome. So anyway, there is that. Okay, let's start with today's topic, shall we? All right. So how do you know that you're growing? It is different for every person. Let me just say that, because growth is different for every person. So therapy is different for every person. But let me just say that in the first year of leaving the abuse, it's hard. It's hard, because it's like, it feels like when you leave the abuser, whether it's a family abuse, whether it's a boss, whether it's a romantic relationship, it feels like sometimes that you take 2 steps forward and 20 steps back. And then sometimes it feels like you're taking 20 steps forward and then you go 2 steps back. So it is not a linear progression. It's kind of circular, is the way I kind of explain it. It's like going up a spring. It's like you may revisit some issues, but you're revisiting it on a different level, which is one way to think about it. So yeah, the first year is the hardest. So let me just be clear with that. So you're trying to find yourself the first year out, and it's really hard to see your progression until you can get up on that bluff and look down and see the progress and find the path. Because when you're in the middle of the forest, you can't see anything. But if you can get up on a bluff and look down, then you're like, oh, there's the path. Oh, that's where I came from. Oh, okay. So journaling is a really good way to see your progression. Now, what I recommend with journaling is that, thanks you guys, I really appreciate it. This has been a really awful week. With journaling, I really recommend that you do journal. Toss the stuff that makes you feel awful, the bad stuff. So like the angry letters, the go screw yourself letters, those ones burn. But do keep a journal of like, okay, well, what are you working on? And how is that going? And how is the mirror work going? And how is the self-esteem work going? And how is the trusting your gut going? That kind of thing. Keep a journal of what your progress is, because that helps you also go back through and read that. And then you have some sort of concrete thing to look at. So I want to go through, let's see, how do you know, this is on PsychCom, and this is written by Jennifer Nelson. How do you know if therapy is working? So again, she points out that therapy is different for everyone and that progress is different for everyone. It's good to set expectations for therapy. So this is going to sound silly, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you ever watch Ghost Hunters, because I love all the paranormal stuff. If you ever watch Ghost Hunters, Jay always asks, what do you want out of this? And that's kind of what therapists should do too. It's like, well, what do you want? What are the goals, so that we have something concrete to work forward to? And a lot of times people will say, well, I just want to feel better. Okay, well, what does that look like to you? Does that mean happier? Does that mean you like yourself? Does that mean the inner critic is shutting down? Does that mean the outer critic is not as bad? Does that mean, so it's really good to get some concrete goals. What are you working towards, so that we can kind of measure this? That's a good way to do it. Okay, so having concrete goals is a good idea. All right. And it also depends on how dedicated you are. So some people will say they want change and say they want to work on themselves, and then they don't do the work, or they come once every blue moon, which doesn't do anything. You've got to have that consistent momentum. You've got to keep working on it. It's just like anything else, guys. The magic does not happen in the therapy session. The magic happens when the therapist hands you all of the tools, teaches you how to use them, and then you go out and start practicing with them. That's where the magic happens, because nothing makes me happier than when clients come back in and go, oh my God, I did the mirror work and I feel so much better. And I'm like, yes, this is why I teach this, because it actually works, So that's where the magic happens, is taking those tools and using them out in the real world. It's great to sit in a session and do all of that stuff, but it's taking the tools and then going out and working them. Hold on. Okay. Okay. How to track your progress in therapy. So, okay. Are you experiencing change? Are you getting what you're looking for? Do you feel more hopeful? That's the most important part. So when you're looking for a therapist and when you're with a therapist, there should be a rapport there. There should be that sense of safety. There should be that sense of being heard. There should be that sense of safety. Yeah, really. And are you feeling hopeful? Now, not every therapy session is going to be sunshine and roses. It's not, because we're dealing with trauma. So some of it is going to be very challenging. Some of it is going to be very heart-wrenching. Some of it is going to be remembering things that you've never allowed yourself to remember before. And sometimes clients freak out. And that's normal because, it's like, oh, feelings. I don't want to feel these feelings. Well, guess what? You got to feel the feelings. You got to feel it to heal it. So are you feeling more hopeful? So I do try to send my clients out on a high note, even when we're dealing with the really rough stuff. It's like, I'll keep an eye on the clock and I'll make sure that I have enough time to remind them of how far they've come, what they've been working on, what is good about them, what is wonderful about them, and that there is hope. And that is the big thing, because when we get out of an abusive relationship, we have been, what's the word I'm looking at? It's like surviving a black hole. Like, we've come out the other side of a black hole and we don't know who we are. We don't know what we like. Hope. What is this hope you speak of? Seriously, like, we've lost that joie de vivre. We've lost that trust. We've lost that hope. We've lost that joy. We've lost that everything. So do you feel hopeful? Do you feel not necessarily good every single time you leave therapy, but do you feel hopeful overall? Are you starting to regain that sense of that, okay, the world, although the world does feel really dangerous right now, the world is generally filled with good people. And that's important, because we tend to lose that when we're with an abuser, or when we see an abuser abusing. It tends to make us very, what's the word I'm looking for? Pessimistic. So, are you able to see that there are good people? Are you able to trust your gut? Are you feeling hopeful? That's one way to know that you've been growing. Do you hear your therapist's voice between sessions? Do you find yourself asking, what would my therapist do or say here? And you already know the answer. That means that the sessions are memorable. And that's fantastic. When that first started happening, I was kind of like, really? You hear my voice? Oh, okay. But, obviously, as I grew as a therapist, I was like, yeah, this is a good thing, because it means that the therapy sessions are memorable. And then when something happens, the client is able to go, okay, what would my therapist say? Oh, they would say this, and then act accordingly. And that's what you want. So if you're hearing your therapist's voice, good. That means that you're learning. The sessions are memorable. You know what your therapist would say, and you're able to take the correct course of action, as opposed to being stuck in the inner child. The inner child is running the show, and you're listening to the inner child, as opposed to the person that's helping you guide yourself to independence. And this is the way to guide yourself to independence. Look at you. You're listening to what your therapist would say, and you're like, what would they say? Okay, this is what they would say. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then you do it. So congratulations. That's awesome. You're growing. All right. Are you thinking new thoughts? Are you thinking in new ways? You're learning tools and coping mechanisms. So are you starting to do the thought stopping? So let's say the inner critic starts going to town. Are you able to go, I see you. I hear you. We are not playing. Have a nice day. Go pound sand. Bye-bye. Why? Because I say so. You need to go bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Have fun. Bye-bye. Go play in traffic, So are you doing that? Are you taking those tools and thinking in a new way? Are you looking at yourself in the mirror, or catching your reflection and suddenly saying something nice to yourself, as opposed to, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa? Are you changing the way you think? So when a codependent thought pops up, oh, well, I need to do this and wait, stop. Do I really need to do this? No, I don't. Do you see where I'm going with that? So it's a new way of thinking. Or say, for example, you suddenly decide to do something just for you. I can't tell you the number of times clients coming out of abusive relationships feel guilty, like nobody's business, when they finally do something just for themselves. For example, go get a massage, get a mani-pedi, take a vacation, buy new clothes, get new shoes, just something that, healthy people that haven't been in an abusive relationship wouldn't even think twice about. But because we've been always made wrong for getting ourselves things or doing things for ourselves because they told us we were selfish because we obviously weren't spending it on them. So guess who's selfish? Projection. Do you see where I'm going with that? So that, doing things for yourself that you wouldn't have done for yourself before. That's huge. Bless you. Okay, John just sneezed. That's why I said that. Are you taking new risks? Are you doing new ways of being? So one of the biggest risks, I think, for us is learning to trust our gut and not allowing the abuse and the abuser to make our world small. It's like our world goes from infinite to minuscule because that's what they want. So you're growing when you take the risk, like when you decide to go join a hiking group, or when you decide to go out to lunch with friends, or when you decide to go do something and not have to text the ex, that kind of thing. Because remember, abusers are always like, tell me where you are, who are you with, what are you doing, blah, 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 blah. You're out of the relationship, you can go out with friends. You don't need to tell anybody. You're an adult. You don't need to tell anybody. You can go have fun and not let anybody know. So the only caveat would be is if you're traveling and you need to make sure somebody knows where you are, but that's a different, thing. Anyway, okay. Is your relationship with yourself getting better? Are you liking or at least tolerating who you are? Are you accepting who you are? Are you able to go, yep, I was groomed by mom and dad, grandparents, whatever. This is how this happened. This is what I've been working on. And, I forgive myself for not knowing, because that's the big thing. It's like, are you able to forgive yourself? Are you able to accept yourself? Are you able to look at younger you or the you that was in the abusive relationship and go, let's have some grace here. Let's have some grace here. You didn't know what you didn't know. Now you know. Now you can do a list of deal breakers. Now you know what you don't want. Good on you. Forgive yourself. Can you accept yourself? Can you start possibly even sort of liking yourself? That's huge. Are your relationships not just with yourself, but with other people getting healthier? Are you kicking out the toxic people? Are you noticing when somebody is toxic? John and I were watching a movie yesterday, and then they were doing interviews with the actors, and we were watching it. And one of the actresses totally would not let one of the actors talk. It was so, from my perspective, very interesting to watch. And I turned and I looked at John, and he mouthed narcissist. And I went, oh yeah, because there was no allowing the other actor to shine. And I was just like, oh, isn't that interesting? And, in the past, like 20, 30 years ago, I probably wouldn't have noticed that. But it's like, now I'm just like, It's just like with the waitress that walked out and said, it's all about me, I'm a narcissist. And I went, oh, please don't spit in my food. Anyway, so there's that. Okay. All right. New risks, talked about that. Are the relationships getting better? Okay, here's a really important one. And at some point, not next week, but I've got things kind of scheduled for the next month or so, but at some point I want to talk about how to spot a bad therapist. But you're not making progress if your therapist is just yesing you. Oh yeah. How does that make you feel? I hate that. I mean, yeah, you're going to ask, how are you feeling? What are you feeling? Why are you feeling it? Where is this coming from? How old do you feel? You're going to ask questions like that. That's going to get the client moving forward. But if you're like, how does that make you feel? Okay, well, they're sad, they're pissed off, they're whatever. That's not helpful. Thank you. We already know that. Do you see where I'm going with that? So if your therapist is just sitting there yesing you, yes, 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 and taking your money, and you're not making progress, get rid of them. So, okay. So back to that question. Okay. Or are they, okay. Do I feel the therapist is doing more than just yesing me or providing a compassionate ear? Or are they providing a compassionate ear that makes it safe for you to start exploring things that scare you? So you're making progress if you trust your therapist and you're starting to open up about things that scare you or things that you have never shared before because it wasn't frickin' safe. So it is a beautiful thing when clients trust me enough to tell me something that they were terrified because they were afraid of being judged, and not because I would judge them, but because they were afraid of being judged. So when they finally realize I'm not going to judge them, I kind of need the information to help them, and then they're able to share. That's a huge sign of growth. Huge, because we don't trust. We don't. It takes a lot for us to trust. So if you're finally able to get a compassionate ear and somebody that you trust, and you're starting to share things that you have not shared before, and you're starting to work on them, then that's that. Is my therapist giving me relevant resources and techniques to use outside of therapy? And am I using them? So are you investing in yourself? Are you taking those tools that the therapist is handing you, like the mirror work, like the self-esteem, like the inner child, like the CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker, like all of the books I recommend? Are you taking those nuggets of wisdom and putting them into practice? Are you using them? Are you catching those thoughts? Are you doing the work? Are you investing in who you are? So that's the thing that drives me crazy, is when people, when I used to do couples therapy, because I don't like doing couples therapy. That's why I go into individual now, because I'm just like, oh, no, thank you. But when I used to do couples therapy, inevitably, the one that was the problem in the relationship would say something along the lines of, well, we can't afford couples therapy. We can't afford this. And I'm like, really? Can you afford a divorce? Because that's where this is going, So it's like, are you invested? Are you willing to take care of yourself? Are you willing to do what's needed? Are you willing to go get, physical help as well as mental help? Are you working on you in all ways, ecumenically? Are you doing the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual? Are you investing in becoming the person that you were meant to be, basically, before the abuser came in and decided to completely mess up your world? So that's another way to know that you're growing, is that you realize you're worth it. You're worth it. Hello. You are worth your own love, your own time, and your own investment. You're worth it. You're worth it. Are you starting to recognize that? Do you get that way of thinking, that abuser is completely verklempt? Do you get that? Do you get that they're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? Do you get that? Do you get that you deserve to be happy? Do you get that you deserve to work on yourself? Is it scary? Heck yeah. Do we have to deal with emotions and feelings and things like that make us uncomfortable? Yes. Growth is not sunshine and roses all the time. Sometimes it is really, really, really uncomfortable. But once you start working with it, it's not nearly as scary as you think it is. And it's not nearly as horrible as you think it is. Is it uncomfortable in the moment? Yes. But you start working with it, you grow through it, and you're able to deal with it. So there is that. Okay. Okay. Do you have increased resilience and the ability to bounce back when facing challenging situations? So, for example, for us, panic attacks. Part of PTSD, it's like, are you able to recognize when you're in a panic attack? Now, for me, sometimes, not always, but sometimes that panic attack just takes me and I'm already doing the hyperventilating before I go, I'm having a panic attack. Damn it. And so can you catch it and realize that you're having a panic attack, and then take the steps to self-soothe, to breathe, to calm the system down? Can you do that? Do you have resilience? Or let's say that the panic attack just takes us, because sometimes, oh man, with this last week, yeah, sometimes it just takes you and you just find yourself in the middle of a panic attack. It's like, okay, I'm just going to let it wash over me. Okay, there it is. Yep, I know what it is. I know what's going on. Okay. And then you come out of it and you go, okay, there it is. I had a panic attack. And you know what? I'm still lovable. I'm still worth self-love. I am still worth caring about myself. It doesn't mean anything other than I had a panic attack. Oh, well, there it is. PTSD. Hello. CPTSD. Hello. That's probably always going to be with us. Even working on it years and years and years later, when you get triggered enough, yeah, you're gonna probably either have a full blown, or you're gonna start to go into one, and then you're gonna be able to go, oh, well, okay, breathe. It's okay. Everything's fine. This is fine. I love that shirt that I have. I'm fine. This is fine. Everything's fine. So just humor. Humor is a good way to know that you're starting to get it. Okay. Okay. Resilience, hugely important. And remember, when you are going through this healing from abusive childhood, abusive romantic relationship, abusive boss, whatever, it takes anywhere from, a year to 18 months to start seeing consistent progress. And especially if you're not hitting it like weekly or even every other week, it takes a lot longer to get things rocking and rolling, which is why I suggest every other week, because I do assign an awful lot of homework, because it's important to start working on this stuff. It's important to start getting it going. It's important to start dealing with it. It's important to work on it daily, So these are also available on eBay, just letting you know. All right. So there is that article. So I wanted to do a couple of other ones. Okay, where is the one I wanted to see? Signs that therapy is working for you. Is that the one? Oh no, that's not what I wanted. Hang on. Okay. All right. Again, is your mood improving? Are you feeling better? Are you feeling happier? Are you feeling more secure? Are you feeling hopeful? Are you feeling whatever? Is your mood improving? So remember, when we leave an abusive relationship, the first year is super hard because those jackwagons have basically taken an egg beater and gone in our heads. And so undoing the fog, the fear, the obligation, the guilt, undoing all of the societal stuff, especially if we leave an abusive family and we've got idiots, i.e. flying monkeys going, oh, honor thy mother and father, even though the mother and father were completely toxic and completely damaging and you should have absolutely nothing to do with them. So you're dealing with not only the abuser or the abusers, but you're also having to deal with the toxic flying monkeys. So that first year is really challenging. It's not impossible, but it is challenging. So just realize it takes a while to get things going. And look to see your moods. I like it when people keep a mood tracker. How am I doing? What is my mood? And having the up and down moods, totally normal. Totally normal. One day you'll be fine. Next day you won't. 1 minute you'll be fine. Next day you won't. Next second you won't. And it depends on what the triggers are. It depends on, how your brain is processing this. So oftentimes what happens is with an abusive partner or even a family, it'll be the first thing we think of in the morning and the last thing we think of at night. And that's when you have to start doing the thought stopping. That's when you have to start doing the, ew, hello, you're not living in my head rent free one more second. Have a nice life. And by have a nice life, I mean go pound sand. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Do you see where I'm going? So yeah, it's that first year is really hard because you have to retrain your brain not to constantly be focused on the abuser. Because what did the abuser do? Fear, obligation, guilt to keep us focused on them. So yeah, it's a new way of thinking. Okay. Okay. Moods and emotions have improved. Your thinking has shifted. Your behaviors have changed. So especially with the codependency, you're no longer killing yourself and saying yes to everything. It's like you're taking a step back and you're saying, no, thank you. And I mean it, So yeah, that's a behavior shift, instead of, and this is where flying monkeys and other abusers don't like it, is because once you start figuring out the codependency and the fact that you've been putting yourself on a back burner and you start saying no, they don't like it. So that's how you start knowing who's toxic, is people who don't respect your boundaries. So you start putting up boundaries. That's a behavior change. That is huge, huge. Saying no and meaning it and not feeling guilty, or maybe having a twinge of guilt, but then being able to go, thank you, bye-bye, go play in traffic, bye-bye. That's a behavior change. So those are the things to be looking for. Okay. Your relationships with yourself and others are better. You have a better life satisfaction. So when we're with an abuser, negative Nellies, negative, no, never good enough, blah, 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 blah. It's like you're always on eggshells and you're always trying to make it better. And you're always, and then it's like when you get rid of the abusers, whether it's family or romantic, I'm not on eggshells anymore. I can go to the grocery store and not have to check in. Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. New way of being. So that's kind of another sign of growth. and you're happier about it. And here's the other thing. It says your diagnosis changed. So with PTSD and CPTSD, I don't think that's ever really going to go away. We're going to have flashbacks. We are. I mean, because anything that reminds me of my dad, if it's bad enough, I will have a flashback. If it's somebody that, reminds me of my dad and they're in my face, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, well, I'm a fighter. And then my next option is to flee. So that is there as well. So yeah, those things I think always stay. But let's say that they got depressed, depression. You got diagnosed with depression. That diagnosis should change. Or you got diagnosed with anxiety. That diagnosis should change as you're able to use the tools that your therapist has handed you. And that is a conversation to have with your therapist. So yeah, and here's the other thing. I hate it when bad therapists, try to make therapy this mystical thing that nobody should yell bull tinky. You should be talking to your clients about what the treatment plan is, what you're doing, how are they doing? You give them reassurance. You let them see what you see, and I do that for my clients. It's like, especially when a client is like, kind of having a backsliding, and I have to be like, whoa, let's look at how far you've come. Let's look at point A to point where you are now, which is like P. You're doing really good. And let's look at all the little steps you've taken. So that's a really good way to do it. Talk to your therapist, and the therapist should be open and honest, and not this mystical, I'm a guru on the I hate those kind of therapists. I just yeah, don't get me started. All right. Okay. Okay, diagnosis changes. Okay, got that one. Okay, there's one more. 4 Pillars of Effective Therapy, and this is on Psychology Today. Who wrote this one? Doesn't say. Reviewed by Hera Estroff Morano, but that doesn't say who Oh, here we go. Emma Newman and Grant Brenner. So there's 4 pillars of therapy. So the 4 horsemen of therapeutic success. Self-acceptance. Full self-acceptance occurs when people accept all versions of themselves. The good, the bad, the ugly, how we were before, how we are now, and all of that. We're able to see that we are lovable and respected by the people in our lives. We understand that we are multifaceted beings and accept ourselves fully, contingent on the extent of self-knowledge. When effective therapy improves self-acceptance. Self-knowledge, also known as self-understanding. This is realized in enjoying a robust, clear view of themselves and their life circumstances. We are aware of the different perspectives and feelings in any given situation, and as well as understanding our own emotions and actions. Expansion of accurate self-awareness grounded in self-acceptance is one hallmark of effective therapy. So a lot of times clients will come out of abusive relationships, and I know I'm going over time. I will hit the questions. Clients will come out of abusive relationships and they will tell me that they are unlovable. And I'm like, according to who? You are infinitely lovable. You are able to be loved. You are able to love, and you are able to be loved. Narcissists don't love. They don't have emotions the way you and I understand them. So when somebody comes out of that kind of relationship, they have the mistaken thought, the mistaken belief that they are lovable because, the abuser abused, whether that was a parent or a romantic relationship or whatever. Whatever. So yeah, you are lovable. You are totally lovable. And so getting rid of that false narrative is hugely important. And that's also a sign of growth, is when you're able to hear that false narrative and go, this is not even my thought. I'm sending you back to the sender, return to sender, address unknown. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. That kind of thing. Relationship quality. People who feel as though they're understood and supported by the people in their lives experience a more fulfilling relationship. During therapy and after it has ended, we see improvements in our relationships and derive greater satisfaction within them, a marker that therapy has been effective. So again, this means getting rid of the toxic people in your life. You are not going to get blood out of a turnip. So if you keep surrounding yourself with toxic people, if nothing changes, then nothing's going to change. But if you start getting rid of the toxic people in your life and you start getting healthier people in your life, your relationships will improve. As you improve your relationship with yourself, you get to improve the relationships with the people around you, which is pretty darn cool. Okay. Consideration of others. This includes empathy, wherein patients are able to consider and understand other perspectives and feelings, as well as compassion. The motivation to act on to relieve others' suffering. Prior research has identified mentalization as a key development accomplishment, covering our capacity to sense our own inner reality while also showing understanding of the validity of others' reality. So in other words, we get rid of that black and white thinking, all or nothing, good, bad, black, white. That's what we learn from abusive parents. And we kind of learn it too from abusive romantic partners, because in their world, it's all good, it's all nothing, good, bad, black, white, my way or the highway. So having the ability to go, I see your point and I can still maintain mine is vital, because in a healthy relationship, you're with a partner, you need to be able to hear their opinions or their points of view and yet still maintain what you know to be right for you, and then find some sort of mutually agreeable compromise. But with abusers, they don't compromise. There is no compromise for them. It's a win-lose situation. They have to win at all costs. So one of the articles I was reading was also on Psychology Today, and I will talk about this more when I talk about bad therapists. The client, clearly personality disordered, viewed the therapy session as a win-lose, and so he had to win over the therapist. In other words, make sure that the therapist couldn't help him. Assholes, basically, help me, but I'm not going to do anything that you suggest, and you're a terrible therapist. Narcissists do that. They go into therapy sessions to either make the therapist wrong and prove how smart they are, or they go into therapy sessions with an what's the word I'm looking for? Tested therapist that doesn't really know much about personality disorders, so that they can continue to manipulate. So yeah. So, and that doesn't, you can't walk into a therapy session and be there to win. It's not about winning. It's about you growing. Get the ego out of the way. That's why narcissists don't get better, because that's how they view therapy sessions is a win-lose situation. If the therapist gets me to start thinking about emotions, I've lost. That's why they don't get better, guys. That's why they don't get better. Okay. Okay. So I think that pretty much talks about that. Is this one I wanted to look at too? Okay. Moods are improving. Thinking is shifted. Behavior has changed. Relationships are better life setting. Yeah. Okay. Think we've covered it. All right. So there are lots of ways to tell that you are growing. There are. I suggest keeping a journal. Keep a mood journal. Keep a thing about, where you started, and then journal, what are you learning? Where are you going? What are you feeling? How are you feeling? How old do you feel? How is this relating to family of origin? How, and all of the accomplishments. So sometimes we forget even the little victories are victories. So in dealing with an abusive family, you're able to get away with them. Victory number 1, hello, thank you. You're able to get away from them. And then, oh, look at that. You've got your own place. Victory number 2. Victory number 3, you've got a job that your family didn't get for you so that they couldn't, interfere and sabotage. Wow, that's awesome. You're starting to trust your gut. You're starting to date again. You're starting to, as you progress on. I would not recommend dating in the first year. Please don't do that. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like there's ways to show that you are growing. So little victories are victories. You take them, because we got to do baby steps, guys. Baby steps. Okay. So I hope that helps you guys kind of know how you're growing and signs to look for. So yeah, anyway, there's that. All right, let's get to the questions. All right. Why does the narcissist, my mother, want me dead? Oh, Lord have mercy. All right. The short answer is they're evil. The long answer is they're evil and they do not feel. They do not have that empathy cog. You and I can watch things about the Ukraine and be in tears, and a narcissist wouldn't bat an eye. Their attitude is, what doesn't have anything to do with me. Why should I care? Okay. They don't feel the way you and I feel. You and I see somebody suffering and it's devastating. You and I see animals suffering, and it's devastating. You and I see things happening, and it affects us because we actually have, I don't know, a soul. They don't. I mean, they do have a soul, but you know what I'm saying. They don't have a conscience. They don't have a conscience. They do not care. They don't. And we, in our Pollyanna we keep projecting onto them. We keep hoping that they're going to wake up. We keep hoping that they're going to have a V8 moment. It's like, oh my God, I should have a conscience. I should feel about this. I need to, holy cow, I treated this person this way. I need to feel about that. But they don't, guys. They don't. And when they see somebody having something that they don't have, if they can't manipulate whatever it is they want out of that person, okay? So a lot of times abusers will, not a lot of times, all the time, abusers will get involved with somebody because of their qualities, because the person is caring, because the person is loving, because they're funny, because they have a joie de vivre, because of all that. And then they start just sucking it out of them and sucking it out of them because some sick part of them thinks that they can get it by osmosis. And they think that by taking it away from us, that they're going to become us. And they never do because they're crazy and they're evil. They're evil. Sorry. Not playing. They're freaking evil. Dark triads, evil. Period. They do not change. And they want us dead because they somehow figure out they're never going to be us. They can't feel it. So if they can't have it, nobody can. It's that whole crazy stalker thing of, if I can't have you, nobody can. Do you see where I'm going with that? So yeah, that's what they do. And that's why the dark triads are stalkers. And that's why the stalkers tend to say things like that. If I can't have you, nobody can. If I can't have the joie de vivre, nobody can. If I can't have the humor, nobody can. If I can't have the fill in the blank, nobody can. That's why they want us dead, guys. That's why they want us dead. They want anybody who loves, who feels, who doesn't agree with them, who, has a different way of thinking. They want them all dead because they cannot stand not being the funniest, the smartest, the brightest, the whatever, and the most feeling. And if they can't have those things, they want you dead. And they do. And they set about to soul kill you. There was a book I used to recommend called The Soul Killer or Soul Killers. It was French. It was written by a French guy. I'll have to find it. I know I got it in the house somewhere. But anyway, they want us dead because they can't have what we have. And so they don't want anybody to have it. So, God forbid, you should be able to leave them and go live your life. Why do you think they cyber stalk? Why do you think they stalk, physically stalk? Why do you think they do all these things to try to stop us from being the person we were meant to be? Because they can't stand it, because it makes them angry as hell and jealous, and they want us dead because they can't have what we're having, which is a happy, normal life. So I hope that answered the question. All right. So, thank you for reminding me of that. Yes, please like the video. Please send this video to people you think need to hear it. Please share this video, share the podcast, share the books, share, because this is going to help as many people as we possibly can, because my whole goal is to help as many people on the face of this planet as possible so that they recognize a dark triad when they see one, Putin, and that they are able to protect themselves and not ever get involved with them again. So, yeah. All right. Okay. My trauma therapist asked me to invite my brother, who I love, and he helps me, but he is himself in constant contact and might be a flying monkey. Should I tell my trauma therapist? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. A trauma therapist shoulda, coulda, woulda. They should understand that. So you just tell them point blank, no, I don't want my brother in therapy with me because they are in contact with my abusers, and I do not want this going back. I suspect he's a flying monkey. You tell them that. And if they give you guff about that, bye-bye. Bye-bye, trauma therapist. You go find one that knows they're a-hole from a hole in the ground. Okay? Yeah, no, you should never, listen to me now, believe me later, never do therapy with either a flying monkey or an abuser, because all the flying monkey's going to do is, in order to get approval from the abuser, is run back to the abuser and tell them everything. And if you go with an abuser, the abuser is going to take whatever is said in therapy and twist it, flip it around, and start screaming at you for bringing up stuff to the therapist. So don't ever do that. Don't ever go to therapy with those people. And yes, you absolutely bring it up to the therapist. You bring up your concerns and you say, no, I don't want my brother here. Thank you very much. And here's the reason why. And unless and until the brother shows that they are trustworthy, you don't do it. You don't. It's not worth your safety. It's not worth your safety. And a trauma therapist, above all people, should frickin' understand. If they don't, you fire their hind end and the rest of them. You know what I'm saying? So there it is. Okay. Okay. How do you get over hyperventilating when learning your joys, etc.? Okay. So hyperventilating is going to occur. It's just part of the panic attack. So if you can catch the hyperventilating, if you can realize that you're hyperventilating, because that's usually the point where I finally go, oh, duh, I'm having a panic attack. It takes me, because sometimes it doesn't hit me until I'm already at the stage. Okay. So as soon as it kind of finally clicks in my brain that I'm hyperventilating, that's when I finally go, and I hold my breath. And then I let it out really slowly. And I start reminding myself I'm safe, I'm okay, everything's fine, it's all right. And it helps also to have friends or family that are trustworthy that can talk you through it. So if John is with me when I'm having a panic attack, he's usually able to say, you're having a panic attack. Deep breath in, hold it, and then I, am crying at the same time, but holding it and just, that soothing presence, it really does help to have friends. This is why, that's the other thing. That's the other way you're growing, is when you're able to ask for help, because we have a bunch of trauma responses. And one of the trauma responses is not asking for help. So if you're able to ask for help, that's another sign you're growing, so that's something to keep in mind. So yeah, so you hold it and hopefully, let people around you know I'm prone to panic attacks. I am. It happens. So if you see me having one, just comfort. Remind me to hold it, let it out slowly, and self-soothe. So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's going to happen. That's the sucky thing about PTSD and CPTSD. How do you go from knowing you are worth it to actually feeling and believing it? Okay. In AA, we have this little saying called fake it till you make it. And it's true. So basically the mirror work, when you start doing the mirror work, you're going to feel funky dunky. You're going to be like, what? This is stupid. Why am I doing this? I feel dumb, blah, blah, blah. Do it anyway. Make it a habit. Just like we've made the critic a habit, because it is. So you start making the good stuff a habit, and eventually you do start believing it and you start feeling it. So the nice thing is that my clients, what I tell them when to do mirror work, it's not just going to be every once in a while, daily, guys, daily. I still do mirror work. I'm 57 years old. I still do mirror work. So get up in the morning, brush your teeth, catch your reflection. Hi, how you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, I really like you. You're a good person. You know what? You're beautiful. You're smart. You're funny. I like you. And you know what? I give you permission to say no. Okay. All right. Look, you go about your day. But you do it daily. Because it becomes a habit. And then when you catch your reflection, you say nice things to you. And I do that. It's like if I happen to see my reflection in a window or something, it's like, I like that person. That's cool. And then I keep walking, or wow, I look really good today. Something nice. So it does become reality, because in the beginning, we're not going to believe it, because mistaken thoughts, mistaken beliefs, they lied to us. Gaslight. Hello. They gaslit us. Oh, you're not lovable. You're not a good person. You're not this. You're not that. Who the hell are you? It's like, thank you, liar. Not playing. And of course, their BS becomes our internal critic. So you've got to really work on catching that thought and going, this isn't even mine. Wow. Return to sender. Bye-bye. Go pound sand. Bye-bye. Go play in traffic. Bye-bye. Do you see where I'm going with that? So yeah, so you do it repetitively until you do believe it and you do start feeling it. And it does happen. It really does. And then work the self-esteem workbook by Glenn Schiraldi, or You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, or any self-esteem workbook. Inner child workbook, start working that stuff. Get back in touch with your feelings. Start feeling. It's okay to feel. That's something else you can say during mirror work. Hi, good to see you. Have a great day. I give you permission to feel. It's okay. It's scary, but it's okay. So start working on all of that. So, all right. Okay. Where are we? How to prevent stressful, busy work periods from compromising self-care. At those times, I'm often worrying about job security, and I think I can't afford time for self-care. You cannot not afford it. You cannot pour from an empty pot. So even in the worst of the COVID thing, when we were in lockdown and I was seeing 40, 44 clients a week, I would still take time, especially on the weekends, to take care of myself, exercising, trying to eat as healthy as possible, watching funny shows, that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It can be little things, going for walks in the neighborhood. And of course, taking Scotty for a walk and all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, doing that, little things. You got to pour back into your own pot. So yes, when things get busy and things get crazy at work, we have this tendency, and that's part of that all or nothing thinking. It's like, oh, I have to be completely focused on work. No, you don't. They got you for 40 or maybe 50 hours. And then after that, you get to work on you. You get to take care of you. You must take care of you. It's not an option, guys. Self-care is really not an option because y'all are going to keel over if you don't do it. So you got to put yourself on the front burner and you got to replenish your teapot because you cannot pour from an empty pot. So it's just reminding yourself, it's like, okay, I'm really busy. Where can I take time? How can I take it? Go take a hot bath. Go for a jog, go for a swim, go walk, go volunteer, go, do something to pour back into your own pot. So yeah. And it's just a matter of giving yourself permission. It's okay to take care of you. It is, even when things get scary and even when it's like, oh my God, security, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, okay, your job's not going to mean anything to you if you're not healthy enough to be here. So take care of you. You are worthy. You are worthy. You are worthy. Oh my God, you are worthy. Okay. So don't forget that. Okay. How do you deal with lowering hypervigilance when outside? I still have overloaded senses. Okay. That's again, PTSD, CPTSD. That is something that we are going to deal with probably for the rest of our lives. It gets better. Hold on. Mm-hmm. I feel that way, and I felt this way even before the pandemic. Anywhere that was crowded. I hate malls, hate them, or any place where there's a lot of people, concerts, things like that. I mean, I like the concert itself, but being with that many people makes me nervous. So it's really a matter of, again, fake it till you make it, talking yourself through it. I'm safe. I'm okay. Everything's fine. I'm aware of my surroundings, and it's okay to be aware of my surroundings. It's okay to be aware of your surroundings, guys. You're always going to have that little bit of hypervigilance. You are. Like if I go into a restaurant, me and Hanson feel the same way. I have a friend named Hanson. He's an ex-police officer, and he never sits with his back to the door, and I don't blame him. I totally dig it. I like being able to see who's coming and going. So, it's just something we do when we've been in life-threatening situations, whether it's emotionally life-threatening or physically life-threatening. So there's going to be a lot of hypervigilance that's going to pop up. And you just kind of have to do an assessment. Okay, I'm outside. Am I safe? Let me do a quick. Okay, yep, no dangers. I'm good. All right, stand down. I'm fine. Everything's fine. And sometimes I have to do that, especially if I'm in a crowded environment. I have to kind of be like, I'm okay. Everything's fine. It's good. I don't need to be on high alert. Yes, this is a crowded restaurant, but I'm good. I don't need to worry. Do you see where I'm going with that? So it's always going to be there. It sucks, but yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you just kind of deal with it, and you have to do self-soothing. I think that's the most important thing is it's kind of like, how do I explain this? We got to keep living. With CPTSD, we got to keep living. We cannot allow the CPTSD because that's what our abuser wants. They want us to lay down and die. And I say to that, meh. You know what I'm saying? So they want us to make our world small. And the CPTSD makes our world small by the triggers, by the hypervigilance, by the flashbacks, and all of that. So you just kind of got to go, okay, it's calculated risk leaving the house every day. I may have a flashback. I may have a panic attack. I may have a trigger. Oh, well, watch me deal with it. And you just kind of, I take that attitude. To me, it's very much a warrior kind of thing. It's very much a bring it, biatch, watch me deal with it. I may not enjoy it, but watch me, and you kind of got to take that attitude because otherwise all of those, triggers, flashbacks, hypervigilance, they start making our world small. And you don't want that because that's what the abuser wants. And you don't want the abuser to win. And the best way to win is to live well. And living well means living, going out and doing, going out and seeing, going out and being, going out and trying, going out and, experiencing. That's what it's all about. So yeah, you gotta take a deep breath and just self-soothe and just be like, okay, let's assess the risks. Okay, we're good. It's okay. Yep, I'm going to be a little hypervigilant, but you know what? So what? I'm going to do it. And then you do it. Is it difficult? Yes, but it does get easier with practice. It really, honest to God, because now I'm pretty much able to go out into crowded places and not have a complete panic attack. They start to have one, but it's like I'm able to go, okay, let's take a risk assessment here. How is it? Okay, it's fine. I'm not crazy about it, but it's okay. So talk yourself through it. You self-soothe. That's the best way to do it. Okay. How are we doing on time? Oh, geez. All right. I think this is probably going to be the last question. For the first time in many years, I almost had a panic attack because of something he said. Then I was fixated all day on that comment because he assumed incorrectly, seems you took a lot of medication. Okay. So our abusers are going to say and do the most heinous, nasty, going for the jugular thing. That's who they are. That's what they do. So anytime somebody says something cutting, nasty, insinuating, vicious, and it's a load of crap, you gotta consider the source and then send it back. They're gonna think whatever they're gonna think. That is simply the way they are going to be because they are heinous human beings. So they're going to say and do whatever they're going to say and do. You don't need to convince them of anything. Anyone who is dedicated to misunderstanding you, you're not going to change their opinion of you. They're going to have whatever nasty opinion they're going to have. So you go low to no contact and you just consider the source and laugh at it. How pathetic that they have to say something cutting, say something nasty, say something vicious, just so they can feel good. Wow. How pathetic is that? Because honestly, life is about experiencing and loving. Love is the highest power. Love as many people as you can. Send out as much love as you can. Send out as much love to the animals as you can. Pet as many dogs as you can. Pet as many cats as you can. And how pathetic that they will never know that kind of joy just from petting a dog or petting a cat or giving a shoulder to a friend who needs consoling. They'll never know that. They'll never understand that. They're pathetic. They're pathetic. They are. Consider the source. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Don't let it bother you. And if you need to, write it out. Write out a go screw you letter to them. Dear abuser, you said this and bleep the bleepity bleep bleep out of bleeping bleep you. I no longer need to believe everything you say. You don't get to live rent-free in my head one more second. Go have a nice life. And by go have a nice life, I mean go pound sand. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Trot it out to the barbecue. Read it out loud once. Burn it. Let it go. Let it go. Don't let them live rent-free up here. They don't deserve your space in your head. They don't. They are pathetic. They are evil. Let them go. Okay? All right, my loves. That's all the brain capacity I have. I can no longer brain today. So next week, I want to talk about imposter syndrome. So why do we do all these great things and yet we think that we're fake? And it's because of the abuser, and we're going to talk about it. So next week is going to be imposter syndrome. So you guys, please take good care of yourselves. If you've got pets, please pet them for me and hug them and kiss them and call them George. That's a Bugs Bunny joke. Anyway, go have a good week, and I will be doing the rest of the questions that I didn't get to on Wednesday. You guys take good care of yourselves, drink plenty of water, get some exercise, get some sunshine. And make sure to do the mirror work daily. All right, my loves, I will talk to you next Sunday. Imposter syndrome. Bye.